Smashing, Basil. Cool. This coffee smells like shit.
It is shit, Austin.
Oh, good, then it's not just me.
What's happening, guys? Supernova here, back with another video. And, I wasn't gonna make this video. You know, I wasn't gonna make a video about Hellblade 2. By the way, played it and beat it, but wasn't gonna make a video about it. Because I honestly just, I don't care that much about it to make a video. But, I have seen so much bullshit over the last fucking 24 hours, or however long it's been since this fucking game came out, that now I need to make this video, right? Like the bullshit I've seen it now necessitates the creation of this fucking video. Because the things I'm seeing people say about this game on social media are outright fucking ludicrous. Now, I'm not going to bury the lead here, okay? Played Hellblade 2, didn't care for Hellblade 2. Is it the worst game ever made? Game in air quotes, by the way. Is it the worst game ever made? No. It's also not this fucking masterpiece, 10 out of 10, perfect game, the greatest, the only true next generation game. It's none of that bullshit, okay? None of that. Hellblade 2 is a 6 to 7 hour cinematic experience / showcase of what Unreal Engine 5 is capable of delivering on current gen consoles and PC. The end. That is it. It is a game that I honestly feel in every way, besides the visuals, of course, animation, of course, and possibly the audio, is actually worse than the first game. Like, outside of those three things, outside of the visuals, animations, and sound, I honestly feel that Hellblade 2 has somehow devolved the game in every other aspect. I truly do believe that. I think the 81 Metacritic that it's currently sitting at is more than generous to what this game is deserving. And it's funny because Xbox fanboys are running around claiming that the fact that this game got an 81, which is the same score as the first game, is somehow more evidence of the fucking imaginary Xbox tax. It's just, it's fucking ridiculous. But anyway, let's back up for a second, okay? Because look, it's not all bad when it comes to this game. No, there are many things that this game does amazingly well, and arguably better than any other game has done ever, or is currently doing right now, at this point, right? Like, there are some things it does that I think you could argue it's the best we've ever seen. The obvious one is going to be the visuals, right? That's all anyone's talking about, is the visuals. Yes, Hellblade 2 is a very, very visually captivating game. It borders on photorealism many times. There are many times when you're playing through this game where it will border on photorealism. Same thing when it comes to the character models and the animations. The mocap that they've done and the facial animations that they have are some of the best, if not the best, at this point in time that we've seen released on current hardware. It just is what it is, right? I will say that sometimes the animations look a little better than others. It's not consistently amazing, but more times than not, the facial animations are incredibly impressive and borderline photoreal and incredibly lifelike. That's just, you can't argue against that. The other thing is the sound design. This game has really good sound design, especially if you are wearing headphones, thanks to the binaural 3D audio that it uses. There'll be times where you're in caves and you'll hear creatures scurrying behind you, and it definitely helps immerse you into the scene. That being said, Uh, you do have, for those of you who don't know, Senua suffers from psychosis, and she has voices that she constantly hears in her head. Now, I can't stand this bullshit, right? I couldn't stand it in the first game. It annoyed the fuck out of me. It annoys the fuck out of me here. But I'm not holding that against the game, right? Like, when I tell you what I think of the game or what score I would give it, the voices that annoy the fuck out of me, I'm not letting that hurt or reflect on that score, because I understand that that's the game that they were trying to make, right? Like, this game is supposed to have these voices you hear in your head. There's no other way to have you feel like you have voices in your head other than to have voices constantly speaking. So for this game and this character, I understand that that's what they had to do. So I'm not going to hold it against the game. But it's fucking annoying. And they talk shit the whole goddamn time, whispering the shit talk. Like, you'll just be like walking down a hallway and they'll be like, "You fucking suck dick. Does he know he sucks dick? Because he sucks dick. Also, his dick's really small. You're a fucking piece of shit. Your girlfriend's cheating on you." Like, just constant whispering in each ear. Just bullshit. Although there was one time where I did laugh where the voice was like, "You see that skeleton? That's gonna be you." I was like, what the fuck? That shit made me laugh so hard. I was like, oh, fuck, voices in my head. You got me that time. You got that time. That was funny. That was funny. You made me giggle, voices in my head. But other than that, the rest of the time, it's like, bitches, will you shut the fuck up? Right? Also, like, the voices in your head will sometimes talk over characters who are talking to Senua. So it's just voices overlapping voices. And again, I get it. That's supposed to be the point. She has these voices in her head all the time. It annoys me. Listen, it annoys me. But again, this is what the game is, right? You choose to play a game about a bitch with psychosis who hears voices. You're gonna hear voices, right? You can't really complain about that when that's what the game is. So again, not letting that reflect on how I feel about the game. But I'm venting because I do find it annoying. But other than the voices in the head, everything else when it comes to sound is fantastic. The voice acting is great. Like, all of that stuff is done at an incredibly high level. Same thing with the music. Now, I wouldn't say that the game has the greatest music of all time, right? Like, I don't feel that the game has any real iconic music. Like, there are many other game franchises that you hear the themes, and it's just very iconic. The God of War theme, the Elder Scrolls theme. These things are just incredibly iconic. I don't feel that Hellblade has anything that's really iconic, but everything it has fits the scene well, really helps immerse you in the scene, is very atmospheric and fitting of what it is you are doing at that moment in time. There's also some really good music that pumps in during some of the fights, where it's like some of that Mongolian throat singing shit. And when it came in, I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, "Oh, hey, yeah, fuck yeah, let's fucking go!" Like the music was just like, "Fuck yeah, let's fuck some shit up," right? Like this shit right here.
I underestimate you.
Like, when this shit was hitting, I was like, "Oh fuck, I'm at like a warrior rave or some shit." So the music in the game, fantastic, really, really good. That for me is where all the positives about this game really end, though. Okay, because after that, everything else about this game is boring, bland. It's not good, right? And let's start with the first major criticism that obviously you've heard, that everyone's heard, is that the game is short, right? And you'll hear people say, "Oh, the game's 5 hours long." I think 5 hours is really, if you're like pushing the pace and have your foot on the gas pedal. I think realistically, an average playthrough is going to be between 6 and 7 hours. And that's 6 to 7 hours where 80% of what you're doing is just walking or lightly jogging. That's also 6 to 7 hours, including all of the cutscenes. So there is not much game here in Hellblade 2. There just isn't. And I'm sorry, that's a valid criticism. It's not just that it's short, right? Because the 6 to 7 hours doesn't bother me, right? If it was a 6 to 7 hour game where there was all kinds of gameplay and all kinds of combat and exploration, and you were actually doing shit over the course of the 6 to 7 hours, I don't have a problem with that, as long as it wasn't $70, right? If it's like a $40 7 to 8 hour game where you're actually playing a game and it's good, don't have any problems with the length. None whatsoever. It's not the length alone that is what people are criticizing this game for. It is the fact that it is a short game where you do nothing for the duration of the game. That's the fucking criticism. Yes, it's beautiful. Beautiful, great, check. Yes, it has some of the, if not the best animations that is currently in gaming. Check. Great immersive sound design. Check. Not disputing that. But just because it does all those things doesn't mean we just get to overlook the fact that it is, on top of being a short game, one where you don't fucking do anything. I'm sorry, no. We don't just overlook that shit because it has very, very pretty graphics. And something that I see a lot on social media is people saying that if this was a PlayStation game, it would not get the criticisms it's getting. If this were a PlayStation game, nobody would be hating on it. If this was a PlayStation game, it wouldn't have an 81 Metacritic. It would have much higher. If this were a PlayStation game, it would not get any of the shit that it is getting for being short. Really? Really? How forgetful you fucking people are. I present to you The Order 1886. This was a game that released for the PlayStation 4 in February of 2015 and actually has a lot of similarities. They actually have a lot in common, right down to having the fucking unremovable letterbox black bars on the top and bottom of the screen for cinematic reasons. Not because it frees up horsepower or anything, but, for cinematic reasons, right? And both, when they released, were the best looking game currently available at that time. And both put visuals and presentation above everything else. Now, I'm being told that the 81 Metacritic that Hellblade is getting is too low, and had it been a PlayStation game, it would have scored higher. So, did the Order 1886 score higher than an 81? No. Did the Order 1886 score an 81? No. The Order 1886, essentially PS4's Hellblade 2, scored a 60 fucking 3. 63, ladies and gentlemen. So anyone saying that had Hellblade 2 been a PlayStation game, it would have been treated better or differently, miss me with that bullshit. Because we already have the evidence that's not fucking true. Shit, while we're here, you want to see how well the PlayStation exclusive Order 1886 was treated? PlayStation Official Magazine Australia gave it a 70. You'll not find a prettier AAA game on PS4. Unfortunately, you'll probably not find a shorter one either. Just affixes the blingest steampunk spinner rims you can imagine. That was the PlayStation Official Magazine of Australia. How about IGN? IGN gave it a 65. Its best aspects are its stunning looks, atmosphere, and style. Sound familiar? Which are truly fantastic. And entertaining fiction. But the shallow, slow, and generic quick-time event-riddled gameplay make it feel like an experience that would have been better served by a non-interactive movie than a game. IGN, 65. Do you see The Order being treated any better being a PlayStation game? How about GameSpot? GameSpot gave it a 50. It is, at best, perfectly playable and lovely to look at and listen to. But it is also the face of mediocrity and missed opportunities. A bad game can make a case for itself. A boring one is harder to forgive. Wow, this PlayStation game was treated so much better than Hellblade 2. It's unbelievable how much better it was treated. Or how about this one? The PlayStation official magazine UK, also giving it a 50. And this description, it perfectly fits Hellblade 2. Visually, it's everything you could have hoped for. But the compromises required to reach that fidelity and moments of narcissism as a result of it are hugely damaging. This is the review of a PlayStation game by a PlayStation magazine, ladies and gentlemen. The Order 1886, which suffered from the same shortcomings as Hellblade 2, was not treated any better. It was actually treated far, far worse. And, to be fair, the criticisms that The Order got are all valid. Just like Hellblade 2, The Order was a beautiful game that had best-in-class animations and visuals. It was a fucking stunner when it came out in 2015. But it was incredibly short and lacking on substantive gameplay. And The Order, by the way, is both longer than Hellblade 2 and has more gameplay than Hellblade 2. So anyone out here trying to say that Hellblade 2 would be treated better or differently had it been a PlayStation game, do us all a favor and shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. That argument falls on deaf fucking ears because it is easily disproven by the way that The Order 1886 was treated. And again, The Order deserved the criticism it got. So does Hellblade 2 deserve the criticisms it is getting now. It doesn't matter how fucking beautiful it is. It doesn't matter how great the mocap and animations are. That shit is irrelevant when the game itself is lacking any fucking gameplay. When a 6 to 7 hour game is 80% push up on the left analog stick, it is deserving of the criticisms it's getting. And I've said more than once in this video that 80% of the game is just walking, which it is. It's you walking down tight corridors with no optional paths or anything. You can only go this one direction. Every once in a while, the game will give you a fork in the road, but it doesn't matter because 20 feet later, that fork comes right back to itself and is the same single road again. It's just you walking on the road. 80% of the goddamn game. So what's the other 20%? That would be the puzzles and combat. Now, let's start with the puzzles, okay? Because I want to tell you right now, I love puzzles. I enjoy puzzles. I like environmental puzzles. There's that feeling of accomplishment after solving a challenging puzzle where you think to yourself, fuck yeah, I'm smart. I figured that shit out, right? None of the puzzles in this game will give you that feeling because they are mind-numbingly easy and boring. I will say that this game at least has a little bit more variation in terms of the types of puzzles that you have versus the first game. But, like I said, they are incredibly easy, incredibly boring. I just felt like mundane tasks, and there's barely any of them in the game. Right? Like, I thought there would, if not have more puzzles, at least have the same amount of puzzles. There's less puzzles in this game than there was in the first game. And it's like, you know, and maybe it's my fault. Maybe it's my fault for assuming that after Ninja Theory got acquired by Xbox and became a first-party studio, that their next outing in the sequel to Hellblade would be a bigger, better version of Hellblade. But that's not what we get with Hellblade 2. We get a prettier, fancier, flashier version of Hellblade, but in every other way, it is less or worse than what Hellblade was. You have worse puzzles than the first game, and less of them. And then let's get to combat. You also have worse combat than the first game, and less combat encounters. Because in the first Hellblade game, you would have these little combat areas where you were getting attacked by multiple enemies at the same time, like you would in any regular hack and slash game. And then you would have mini boss fights and boss fights that would then lock you into a 1v1 circular arena where you fought just this one enemy. In Hellblade 2, they got rid of the combat areas where you fight multiple enemies at the same time, and now everything is the 1v1 combat arena. Even if you're fighting 9 enemies, you don't fight 9, you fight 1. And then after you beat that 1, guy number 2 comes in, and you fight him. And after you beat him, guy number 3 comes in, and you fight him. And you do that, rinse and repeat, until you vanquished all the enemies in the area. And every fight is exactly the same. It doesn't matter if it's a sword guy, an axe guy, a shield guy, a flamethrower guy, a Draugr. It doesn't matter, because the fights are exactly the same. The tactics you're going to use for defeating the enemies is exactly the same. There is no variation to them. It's not like certain enemies require different tactics to defeat them. No, it is the same for every enemy. The only thing that changes is what the enemy looks like and what weapons they hold in their hand. Other than that, everything is the same. Over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, Ninja Theory told us that they had completely overhauled the combat system going into Hellblade 2. Hell, they said they fucking sent Melina Juergens to combat school to learn sword fighting and shit for this game. Why? I didn't understand. Because if they're doing mocap, they could have just put a stunt woman in the fucking mocap suit. It didn't have to be Melina Juergens, but I digress. They sent Melina Juergens to fucking combat school. They sent her to combat school and they overhauled the combat system. For what? Because I'm not seeing that in this game. I'm not seeing any overhaul of the systems. And maybe it's my fault, right? Maybe it's my fault for believing when they said they overhauled the combat systems that I would see an overhauled combat system. Now, I will say that the animations during combat are amazing, right? And the fluidity of enemies coming in and out of the combat arenas, again, amazing. It is incredibly fluid and cinematic. Wonderful. Great. 2 thumbs up, Ninja Theory. But outside the flashiness of the combat, the actual combat itself, the gameplay, fucking lackluster, boring, and not overhauled from what you had in the first game. It's the same shit. So maybe it's my fault for thinking when they said they overhauled the system that I would see an evolution in the game. Maybe it's my fault for thinking that a sequel to the game is going to be bigger and better in every way and not just better graphics. Because let's talk about The Last of Us for a second. Now, I didn't particularly care for The Last of Us Part 2. I didn't like the story in that game at all. I thought the story sucked. I didn't like many of the characters in the game. But you cannot tell me that the combat in The Last of Us Part 2 is not overhauled and evolved from the combat in The Last of Us Part 1. You cannot tell me that the traversal mechanics are not overhauled and evolved from the traversal mechanics in the first game. You cannot tell me that enemy AI isn't overhauled and evolved from what is in the first game. Story aside, all the other shit aside, the gameplay aspects of The Last of Us Part 2, all of it is bigger and better than what the first game was. So maybe it's my fault to expect that a sequel is going to do things bigger and better than the first game. I don't think it is, though. I think that's the bare minimum expectation of what a sequel's supposed to be. Everything the first game was, but refined and done better. Hellblade 2 is not that. Is it more beautiful? Yes! It's insanely beautiful. Does it have better animations? You fucking bet your ass it does. Probably best animations currently in gaming. Does that make it a 10 out of 10 masterpiece, amazing game that you can't criticize the other aspects of? Fuck no. Fuck no. Another thing I'm seeing people say is that this game is a masterpiece and amazing game because we've never seen combat that looked this good. We've never had combat that felt so cinematic in a game before. This is the first time we're seeing it, right? Wrong. Uncharted did this shit in 2016. Now, are the animations better in Hellblade 2? Obviously. It's fucking 8 years. It's been 8 years. They better look better. But to sit here and act like the combat in Hellblade 2 is some revolutionary thing that we've never seen before, ever, in gaming, is not true. I'm showing you the fight scene against Rafe at the end of Uncharted 4 right now. Next to the combats in Hellblade 2 right now. Does the Hellblade 2 combat look that much better than Uncharted's? No. Are the animations smoother? Fuck yes. But again, it's been 8 years. So for all these people sitting here jerking off about Hellblade 2, relax, guys. You want to talk about the visuals? Fine. Great. They're amazing. Undeniably amazing. But to act like Hellblade 2 is something that we just have never experienced before in gaming, we've never seen anything like it in gaming, is just not fucking realistic, guys. It's not realistic. It is a delusional statement from delusional people, okay? It's just what it is at the end of the day. Again, we can have a conversation all day long about how beautiful Hellblade 2 is, which it is. Undeniable. Can't deny it. Anyone that tries to is just being an untruthful prick, okay? Great animations, wonderful sound design, great. But at the end of the day, this is a video game. And when it comes to the part that you actually play in this game, this fucking thing sucks. It fucking sucks. I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck if you love it. It sucks. It sucks dick. And if it wasn't beautiful, you'd be talking about how much dick it sucked too. So cut the bullshit, people. Cut the bullshit. Because beautiful graphics and amazing animations alone does not a good game make. You need everything. You need to have great everything for it to be a great game. Actually, graphics is probably one of the areas where it doesn't need to be great to be a great game, because it's the gameplay first. Your gameplay first has to be great, then all the other things on top of that. Because you can have a game that's 8-bit pixels, looking like a fucking Nintendo game, and if the gameplay is great and the story is great, it doesn't matter that it's an 8-bit game, because the gameplay and the story and all the other things is what's most important. And listen, I know, beautiful graphics. Listen, I'm a graphics whore. I love beautiful graphics too. But beautiful graphics alone can't make a game good. If a game is not good, making it beautiful doesn't make it great. Does it make it better? Sure. Because beautiful graphics can never hurt. But the game needs to be good, and there is no good game in Hellblade 2. There just isn't. It is worse than Hellblade 1. It is a step back from Hellblade 1. And listen, the other thing, people saying, the game's it's really a 10-hour game. It's a 13-hour game. People that are saying it's a 6-hour game, they're lying. They're full of shit. They're speedrunning. Listen, if this game took you 13 hours to beat, it's because you were fucking standing around, not doing shit, had the game paused while you were on Twitter talking bullshit. There's no fucking way in hell this game takes anybody 13 hours unless they're trying to make it take 13 hours. You feel me? So don't let anyone sell you on the idea that this game is any longer than a 7 to 8 hour game at best, because it is not. If you want to buy this game or you want to play it on Game Pass, go into it knowing full well it is a 6 to 7 hour game, and that it is 80% pressing up on the left analog stick, and the other 20% is bland and boring. You need to know that going into this game. Don't let anyone tell you differently. Anyone trying to tell you, oh, it's a masterpiece, oh, it's amazing. It's not. Look, I'm conflicted, right? I'm conflicted because I understand that people's opinions are their own, and who am I to tell anybody that the combat isn't fun or the puzzles aren't fun if they enjoy them, right? I'm conflicted because on one hand I feel, who am I to tell people that the combat is not fun or the puzzles aren't fun if they honestly feel that it is, right? Who am I to tell them that? At the same time, I can't fathom anybody playing this game and thinking the combat and puzzles are fun. I just can't. Especially if they've played other games, right? These are people who claim to be gamers, who are somehow wowed by some of the most mediocre shit I've experienced in gaming. Like, as a matter of fact, you know what? Fuck it. Confliction gone. Fuck those guys. Fuck them. They're lying pieces of shit. Because there's no fucking way. There's no way that they could play other games, other video games, then come to this and somehow find this combat and these puzzles fun or engaging or complex. There's no fucking way. There just isn't. And listen, if you're one of these people that legitimately feels that they are, I don't know what to tell you other than maybe go see a doctor and get yourself checked out, because you're clearly not well. You're clearly not well. And another argument that I'm seeing a lot that I want to kind of destroy real quick is the argument that people are making that these are visuals that are just not possible on PlayStation hardware, and that's why people are criticizing it, right? There are criticisms of this game because of how good it looks, and these are visuals that just aren't going to be possible on PlayStation hardware. Well, hate to break it to you guys, the game doesn't look that good because of Xbox hardware. It looks that good because of Unreal Engine 5. And how do I know this? Well, here's an Unreal Engine 5 multiplat that's releasing next year that's going to be on both Xbox and PlayStation, as well as PC, that, in my opinion, looks just as good, if not better, than Hellblade 2. It's Marvel's 1943, The Rise of Hydra. Look at this shit. I think this looks better than Hellblade 2. It's a multiplat. So the conversation of nothing on PlayStation will ever look this good, try again. Not true. Not true. It's just not. Hellblade looks this good not because of Xbox hardware, but because of Unreal Engine 5. There are going to be lots of games that release in the next couple of years that are going to look just as good, if not better, than Hellblade 2, that will be on all available platforms, minus the Switch, right? So this is not people are complaining because PlayStation games don't look this good or will never look this good. That's the dumbest argument I've heard people say. How are you going to say that future games will never look this good on the competing hardware? It's so fucking stupid. And again, easily disprovable because we already have announced multiplats that clearly look just as good. So to all you idiots running around saying that nothing's going to ever look this good on competing hardware, stop it. Stop it, because you're going to look like idiots. You're going to look like idiots when a game like Marvel's 1943, The Rise of Hydra drops, and it looks just as good, if not better, than Hellblade 2, and it's also on PS5. You're going to look like fucking idiots, and believe me, there's someone out there taking receipts of the dumb shit you're saying. Just stop. Just fucking stop. Also, do yourself a favor and stop listening to the shit that PlayStation fanboys say. Because, of course, PlayStation fanboys are going to criticize everything about Hellblade 2. It doesn't matter what Hellblade 2 is, right? Hellblade 2 could do everything amazingly well. PlayStation fanboys are still going to criticize everything about it. That's what fanboys do. Also, stop acting like all criticisms of this game is just PlayStation fanboys, because it's not, right? When you have someone like Mr. Matty Plays, who I don't think anybody would call a PlayStation fanboy, doesn't like it. Or someone like Luke Stevens, who I also don't think you could say is a PlayStation fanboy, criticizes the game. I think both those guys are pretty in the center, right? If anything, I think Mr. Matty Plays leans almost more on the Xbox side than PlayStation, but still, when these guys are criticizing the game, you can't claim it's just PlayStation fanboys, because it's not. At the end of the day, the criticisms that this game is getting are valid. Valid. Like I said, the 81 it's getting in Metacritic, that is very generous. It's not even deserving of the 81. Ninja Theory have made a beautiful, visually groundbreaking, interactive cinematic experience. But they have failed to make a good game. Period. It is what it is. You may not like it. You may hate that that's the case, but it is what it is. I'm sorry. For any of you Xbox guys that were hoping that Hellblade 2 was going to be that game, it's not. It's not. Is it beautiful? Yes. Does it have great animations? Yes. Wonderful sound design? Yes. Again, Ninja Theory has made a incredible interactive cinematic experience, but they have failed to make a good game. And it's not like they don't know how. These are the same people that made DMC Devil May Cry. Although the story is shit, the gameplay in that game was great. It was fun. They made Heavenly Sword, another great fun game. They know how to make good games. They just didn't make one this time. And that's all I got for you guys on this one. And that's the video, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments and tell me, where do you stand on the Hellblade 2 debate. And as always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the next Supernova.